Hello, everyone, and welcome to our session on performance analytics for Citrix virtual apps and desktops. My name is Venkatesh Vellingiri. I'm one of the product managers at the performance analytics team. I'm available on Twitter at my handle at Vengo. I'm really excited to be here today, meeting you virtually, and let's get started. So, what do we have in store for us today? We'll start with me explaining the strategy behind analytics. I'll move on to explaining the difference between a traditional monitoring solution and an analytics product. I'll also explain the key use cases in which performance analytics can be very valuable and the differentiators that Citrix Analytics brings to the whole analytics ecosystem as a whole. We'll move on to a feature walkthrough where I will walk through all the dashboards that are available in performance analytics today. In, After which I will explain the internals that kind of generate the dashboards and the intelligence that is behind all the dashboards. We'll finish off by taking a look at the access journey. We are going to look at what an administrator has to do to get their hands-on performance analytics and the onboarding steps that an admin has to go through to start driving value from performance analytics. So let us start with strategy. Citrix's analytics strategy consists of three key components. The first key component is the AI and ML-driven analytics platform. What Citrix wants to achieve is to create a continuously evolving and learning system that reduces the data to value barrier. What we mean by the data to value barrier is the time and effort that goes into collecting, mining, and surfacing insights that customers can then use to improve the whole ecosystem and their deployment. The second key component is the value analytics would drive across the ecosystem. The analytics ecosystem would actually collect insights from all product verticals like virtualization and networking, and it would correlate all the patterns and give you actionable insights. The third key component is the power of Citrix Cloud. When uh, computing moves to the cloud, a lot of new opportunities arise. When you put all the data that uh, is available in the Citrix ecosystem next to the computing power of the cloud, you can expect a lot of really important innovation happening. Let us try to understand Citrix's strategy behind Citrix Analytics for performance. The first key component of Citrix's analytics strategy is the AI and ML-driven analytics ecosystem. Citrix emphasizes on machine learning-based modeling to reduce data to value barrier. What we mean by the data to value barrier is the time and effort a customer is required to put in to collect and mine all the information to come up with actionable insights. The second key component is the intent to deliver value across the Citrix ecosystem. As a customer, you might have adopted virtualization products and networking products from Citrix. Analytics intends to perform analysis and correlation, come up with insights across all the products. And thirdly, analytics for performance is delivered through Citrix Cloud. What this means is even though the analysis of your data happens on Citrix Cloud, your workloads may or may not be on cloud. You can have a on-premise workload. You can also have a public cloud workload. Analytics would work with all the combinations so that we can drive value to hybrid cloud deployments. So as we set out to build performance analytics, we agreed on a few key principles so that the product will become really easy to use and drive value for customers. The first was the intent to be a turnkey solution. All the components that deliver the applications and desktops to your end users are instrumented to send information to Citrix Analytics for performance. What this means is that as an administrator, you don't have one more component to maintain uh, just to get insights about performance. So no new agents to be deployed. All you have to do is to upgrade to the version of virtual apps and desktops, which has the instrumentation built in, and you are set to go. The second principle is that analytics for performance will always present multiple vantage points. What this translates to in virtual apps and desktops performance terminology is that there will be dimensions like network, capacity, endpoints, and your usage patterns. So analyzing problems from all these four dimensions will lead to better outcomes. And the third principle is that Citrix Analytics for performance will always be prescriptive. There are many analytics solutions that give you descriptive data of what is happening in your environment. Analytics for performance takes it one step further and comes up with the most impactful actions that an admin can take to ensure that the user experience is optimal. So, as we set out to build performance analytics, we decided on three key principles so that the solution aligns with customer expectations. The first principle was to build a turnkey data collection solution. What this means is that a customer will not have to deploy new agents to collect information and send it to performance analytics. As long as the customer is on a version where the native components are instrumented to send data to performance analytics, they can start driving value from the solution. This also reduces the overhead of continuously upgrading and maintaining that infrastructure component, which can be very costly. The second key principle was to ensure that whatever analysis that the models do is presented from multiple vantage points. In the virtual apps and desktops world, this translates to vantage points such as the network layer, the VDA layer, and the endpoint layer. When you are trying to analyze user experience issues, analytics would actually present all the information relevant to the particular problem in a detailed context. The third principle was to be prescriptive. Uh, a lot of analytics solutions present descriptive information on the status of the environment. We, with performance analytics, wanted to take it one step further and be able to prescribe actions to the administrator so that they can ensure optimal user experience.
Now that we understand the rationale behind performance analytics, let us take some time to consider the differences between a traditional monitoring solution and a modern analytics product. To start with, monitoring solutions monitor specific metrics. When the number of metrics becomes large, this presents a challenge for administrators because they have to be aware of the highs and lows of each metric to understand their impacts on user experience. What analytics does on this regard is to combine all the metrics that impact or represent the user experience into one single experience score. The second major difference is the prerequisite knowledge of metrics and thresholds that an admin has to possess to be able to analyze user experience. In contrast, analytics comes up with intelligent system-driven thresholds that are recalibrated on a periodic basis to be in alignment with the evolution of the virtual apps and desktops environment. Third, Most monitoring solutions require the administrator to set up alerts. This is not scalable in situations where the workloads are moved to a different cloud location, or new endpoints are added to the usage pattern, or users log in from remote PC in remote locations. These alerts may not be relevant when systems evolve. With analytics, the system automates a lot of remediatory actions that an admin would typically take, uh, which altogether removes the need to set up custom alerts. And lastly, one of the expectations with monitoring solutions is the admin knows what to search for to discover the root causes of performance problems. Analytics takes that specific need out and identifies degradation and possible reasons automatically. It will also perform an impact assessment and presents the top actions an admin can take to improve user experience. Let us now move on to understand the key use cases that performance analytics can serve. The first use case is to allow administrators to quantify the user experience in their environment. What this means is that administrators can come up with a score that will easily classify the experience of users into excellent, fair, and poor category, and thereby eliminating the need to search for specific metric values to come up with the top users they have to prioritize to fix performance problems. The second key use case is in a large environment, performance analytics surfaces the users under the worst experience category so that the admins can quickly get to those users and debug their problems. Thirdly, performance analytics drives more value when it provides information on networking, on the endpoint, and insights around configuration. Performance analytics also aggregates information across all sites. In large deployments, typically the control layer is broken down into multiple sites, which need constant monitoring to ensure user experience. With performance analytics, admins can look at all the sites in a single dashboard and compare performance to identify the sites that are not up to the mark. And lastly, performance analytics provides tools for faster troubleshooting, resulting in lower mean time to response. As analytics attempts to serve the key use cases, there are a few capabilities in the system that differentiate analytics from traditional monitoring solutions. The first differentiator would be the capability to aggregate all the KPIs that matter into a single user experience score. A second one would be the comprehensive visibility that performance analytics would have into the ICA protocol. As multiple applications consume different channels bandwidth, the performance can vary based on the bandwidth available and the configuration that the admin has done. So having a great visibility into the channel metrics would be a huge value for Citrix administrators. Third, analytics for performance integrates workspace and network insights. What this means is the workspace application is instrumented to send telemetry about the user experience in terms of the location they are logging in from, the endpoint operating system, and the workspace app version so that administrators can quickly spot patterns between application failures or sluggish performance. Fourth, there is end-to-end visibility in terms of troubleshooting. When you are troubleshooting poor user experience, the data points presented across endpoints, network, and the application infrastructure components such as VDA will push the administrator to fix issues in a fast. manner. The system also generates actionable insights through machine learning. One good example is how analytics spots outliers in the profile size that can help administrators reduce the login duration. The system also provides for a self-service search view where the administrator can quickly log in and filter out monitoring information on specific sessions in a specific time frame and look at it from multiple dimensions. Lastly, performance analytics is very easy to set up. In fact, it is so easy that an administrator can set up an on-premise site within 5 minutes. Let us move on to the feature walkthrough and take a look at all the dashboards and the drill downs that will help administrators troubleshoot performance issues. So as an administrator comes to the performance analytics portal, she will be presented with the user experience dashboard. What this dashboard presents is a timeline of how users shift between excellent, fair, and poor user experience category over time. The dashboard also presents information on multiple sites so an administrator can compare one site to the other. The, the value of this dashboard is helping admins bucket users of poor experience together and spotting patterns. The second use of this dashboard is an admin can correlate the user experience to the infrastructure availability. Let us assume that an administrator adds 10 new VDAs within a delivery group to serve existing applications. One can use this dashboard to measure if the new capacity is translating into better user experience by monitoring the user experience score. As I drill down into users under the poor category, the system presents me a classification based on all the factors that led to the poor user experience. The factors are session availability, session resiliency, session responsiveness, and logon duration. Session availability is a measure of how well does the end user acquire the sessions to use the applications that he wants to. Session resiliency indicates how well the Citrix workspace application recovers from minor network fluctuations. Session responsiveness is the factor that indicates the overall in-session experience in terms of network lag and user interaction lags. Session logon duration indicates how long it takes for an end user to have a usable session from the point he clicks on the icon on the storefront. As an administrator, you can drill down into each of these factors and see which sub-factor was kind of an anomaly from the normal behavior. For example, as I expand into session logon duration, I can easily notice that the profile load was a contributing factor to the poor logon duration. What the insights engine tells me is that the average size of 22 users in the poor category is 1.5 gigabytes. This is 82% higher than the users in excellent and fair category. What this also does is it recommends me to review some best practices that are documented in the Citrix documentation portal. It also recommends that I should consider implementing Citrix profile management. This is how Citrix Analytics for Performance gives you contextual insights when you are troubleshooting a specific user experience problem. As I drill down into the factors, I am presented with the search and explore view that has two primary objects. One is the list of users, and the second one is the list of sessions. As an admin, I can choose to slice and dice the session information to arrive at the sessions that had really poor experience. Or I can have a theory that a specific factor was the cause of users getting bucketed under poor user experience category. So I can filter across all the data points that are collected by our native components and arrive at patterns of poor experience and root causes that cause those poor user experiences. I can also leverage the data points from the workspace application. Citrix Analytics for Performance provides information about the location from which your users are accessing the applications. This is a capability that is net new and is available only as part of analytics. Most monitoring solutions would leverage the Active Directory location field to present on their portals. With Citrix Analytics for Performance, the actual workspace application is instrumented to send this information, which means when users actually travel, the location information is accurate to the granularity of a city so that you can understand if specific performance problems are temporary or if they are perennial. You can also validate if the routing rules that are configured using a solution like SD-WAN is optimal in terms of the usage patterns expected. As an administrator, I can also leverage the endpoint operating system and workspace app version to understand if they are the root cause for poor user experience. This is especially useful when I'm upgrading the endpoints to a newer version of the operating system or the workspace app. Okay, let us move on into what is happening behind the scenes when uh, the analytics system classifies users into excellent, fair, and poor category. What goes on in the background is a continuous monitoring and thresholding of critical user experience factors on a periodic basis. And the user experience algorithm applies statistical modeling, contextual benchmarking, and relevant impact factors into a formula that classifies users into poor, fair, and excellent category. When users are categorized under poor, it means that there was prolonged degradation in performance of multiple factors such as log-on duration, failures, and reconnects. It also means there is certain infrastructure and resource related failures that reduce the availability of certain applications and desktops. When the system categorizes users under fair category, it means that the performance degradation was for a limited time window. It also means that there were one-off events where the user was able to recover from poor experience and acquire a great session. Excellent experience indicates that this is the top 10 percentile of users who were consistently having great experience across all the factors. The important thing to understand here is that the thresholding is recalibrated every week based on 30 days worth of data. So if the environment evolves significantly within the 30 days, the thresholds would move accordingly so that the newer standards apply and the newer usage patterns are considered. Let us move into the access journey for an administrator who's willing to adopt performance analytics. The onboarding process for an on-premise site involves a simple three-step process through Citrix Director. There are no net new components to be installed, like mentioned in the previous slides. The onboarding is a simple three-step process. The prerequisite is that there should be an outbound connection via port number 443. It also requires an account on the Citrix Cloud portal and at least a trial entitlement to the analytics service. The customer can request for trial on the Citrix Cloud portal by clicking on the request trial icon against the Citrix Analytics tile. The trials are auto approved, and then the administrator will see the manage button becoming active in a matter of minutes. They can also leverage the launch demo button underneath the analytics tile to sample an ideal application where most performance problems are demonstrable. Moving on to refer to the onboarding document that explains how you can leverage Citrix Data to onboard your on-premise sites, as well as NetScaler Gateway to send latency breakdown information to performance analytics. When you go through these documents, please feel free to reach out to our support forums to better understand how to derive value from performance analytics.